Logistics. One of the things that most Amazon sellers, I think, have a difficult time understanding just from the aspect of there's so many different ways to do it. You can have FBA, which is where Amazon will just handle all of the logistics for you, but you still have to send the product in from your manufacturer or from your warehouse. Or you can have FBM, and you can have two different versions of this. Either FBM, where it's just fulfilled by merchant out of your own warehouse, or through potentially a 3PL option as well, or you can have seller fulfilled prime. Now, assuming that you don't want to do FBA, let's say that all of these new fees, the placement fee, everything in between is becoming a little bit too pricey for you, and you really don't want to have to deal with all of that, and you want to have just FBM, and you want to ship it out of your own warehouse. 3PLs aren't an option for you because they're just also a little pricey these days, and they don't do everything you want, and you want to have as much control over your inventory and shipments as possible, but you have the hurdle of actually getting it set up on Amazon and what actually makes sense to do. A lot of people will just go with Amazon's regular migrated template, which is just the default template that will send products in a certain way, and then they'll deal with it on the actual pricing side of their products. But there are some people who want a little bit more control. They want to understand the exact logistics that they're running through, have the exact type of service that they're going to do as well, and handle the entire thing end to end themselves. And that is exactly what this video is going to be for. If you are someone who is doing FBM or even considering switching over to FBM, you have your own warehouse, you're trying to understand how to ship out your products, you want to understand what is the best way to actually set up a shipping template that makes sense for you and your business, then this is exactly how you're going to go about it. So starting off here, let's head on over to our actual Seller Central here. And when you are at this page, you're going to come up here to the shipping settings. You'll click on your shipping settings, and from the shipping settings screen, we have a bunch of different options. So first and foremost, you'll see locations here, then you'll see your general shipping settings, and then you'll see your shipping templates. It automatically takes us to the shipping template, and again, you can see the migrated template, our default here that Amazon chooses. This is a pretty normal template overall. It has free economy standard shipping for $0 to $40 across the board. You can make some edits to this as need be. You can edit the template up here, but we're going to be focusing on making your own template, what actually makes sense, and all of the different logistics around shipping, right? So if we click on locations here, it will take us on over to our actual locations. This allows us to set multiple different locations that we can ship the product from. So we'll take this, we'll go to create new location, and let's say that we are going to have it just be 123 North Street location. No need for a unique code. This is completely optional. We'll have it be for the United States. So we'll click on that, and then we're going to have 123 North Street. Postal code is just going to be 12345. And then for our city, we'll do regular town, state. Let's do New York. Primary phone number 555-5555. And then address test@mag.com. Cool. So this is what our location is going to be. We'll have this for shipping. We are not going to have in-store pickup, and we'll create the location. Now it has been successfully created, and again, you would just make this exact location whatever you need it to be. Again, let's go back here to our shipping settings. We're going to head on over to our general shipping settings. Now, this is specifically where you want to make sure everything makes sense. So you want your default shipping address. You would have this as the location that you just set up there, and then order fulfillment settings. Now, this is where we can look at our actual locations and change that again. And then the new handling time. Now, Amazon has a few different features here, including automated handling time. Automated handling time is Amazon's feature where essentially it tracks how long it typically takes you to get an order out based on the number of orders you're getting in. So if you say get around 100 orders in and it takes you, let's say, 1 day to get everything out, it will change your actual default handling time for you. So you can see here we have 1 day based on your shipping history. So this is something that I think is pretty unique and actually helps a lot of sellers comparatively to most features on Amazon. The reason for that is that essentially allows you to have a much more up-to-date and accurate idea of handling time. Now, if you do not want this on, you should just turn it off. There are some people who want a default of 5 days, let's say, and from there, you can just go to edit and you can turn this off entirely. Now, as well, We also have buyer requested cancellation. Now, this is specifically for auto canceling orders if the buyer cancels it within a certain time allotment. So let's say your handling time is not on auto and you have it set to 5 days. You could have buyer requested cancellation, change this from 0.5 hours to let's say 2-3 days, and it will auto cancel any orders if the buyer cancels it within that time without you having to go in and cancel it for them. And then finally, we have our holidays. So every single year this updates. It'll let you know when the holidays are, what days to look at, what days to think about. This is more so that you understand which holidays you are going to be participating in. This will update all of your shipping settings at the same time. Now, over to our shipping templates. We'll come on over here and we're going to create ourselves a new template. So we're going to create a new shipping template. We're not going to edit one. It's going to take us here. We will then choose our new address, let's say, and then it's going to give us this preference type for fulfillment. We're going to do seller fulfilled non-prime shipping settings. Now, it gives us this screen, and there's a few things to take into note here. We have a few different things. Shipping services is going to be our first. So when we're looking at this, it's going to ask us essentially what type of shipping are we using. So this really is going to be highly dependent on every single seller, what makes sense for you to offer from a shipping services perspective. Are you using Amazon's shipping, USPS, UPS, or FedEx? Majority of people, let's say, are going to be using UPS and USPS and Amazon shipping. FedEx, yes, as well, for those who really want it and have it. So UPS first, you can click that, but we're going to do UPS ground, second day air. We'll do USPS for Advantage Light and then Priority Mail. And then let's say also we're going to do some Amazon ground shipping as well. And then we'll also add on here the Ground Saver and SurePost. Now, on top of this, we have a few options for service priority. And what this means is essentially it chooses and designates typically what service you're going to be using out of these services based on what you want. So first one being, I want Amazon choose the shipping service based on the conditions I set below. There are 3 different options for this. We can either do it by item package weight, delivery region, or item price. Now, each one of these, it's very interesting because we can change it for what makes the most sense to us. So for instance, if we are going to have a bunch of products that are all the exact same weight within your catalog and you don't have much variance, it doesn't make a ton of sense to change the conditions by package weight because you're likely going to be shipping everything based off that. So you should be doing something like delivery region. So delivery region, you can choose Northeast, Midwest, Southwest, or any of the US outside continental. Now, why does this matter? It matters simply because it allows us to have a little bit more versatility on how we're actually going to ship the product and how much it's going to cost us to ship the product, more importantly. So especially for sellers that essentially have a catalog of very similar weighted items where you're going to have pretty much around the same cost and weight every single time, I would absolutely choose delivery region. If you have a bunch of different weighted products, you have some that are small, some that are big, some that weigh, half a pound, others that weigh 4 pounds, I would go by the item package weight. You can do multiple of these at the same time, and this turns this into a when and. So we can do things such as a when item package weight is blank to above poundage, and delivery region is, let's say, Northeast. Shipping service will be USPS ground. So the interesting part about choosing this and the conditions we set here is that it gives us a little bit more versatility in how we're actually going to go about the overall shipping template, right? This is where it really makes sense for majority of sellers to do it, would be package weight and delivery region. I'm not going to recommend most people do it by price. The reason for that is price is usually an independent factor outside of those two items and isn't going to really make a lot of sense for us. So instead, I would always say do it either by delivery region or item package weight, or more importantly, I typically am going to choose both here. So again, we can choose that, and then we can set for Midwest. Let's say we're going to do USPS ground, and then for the South, let's say we're going to do second day air, West, so on and so forth. Again, you can choose all of these and do whichever one of the shipping settings you're going to do. Let's say for that one, we'll do priority mail. Now, the secondary option here would be I want Amazon to choose the shipping service that I select selected above that creates the longest delivery time based on the customer's location. This is an option specifically if you want to choose the cheapest possible route. This is also going to be one where you might have the hardest issue when it comes to actually delivering the product. And the reason I say that is that typically this is always going to end up with some form of USPS. It's going to create some issue with actually getting on-time deliveries, and I would not typically choose this as an option overall. Again, the longest delivery time is going to usually set you up for some hard conversion rates overall on your products, and then on top of that, hitting delivery time metrics is going to be a little difficult. Third option here, I want Amazon to dynamically choose one of my above shipping services that creates the fastest possible delivery time. This is a good option for some, but again, I believe that this in general can be better and better utilized just by choosing this based on the conditions, right? So if we're going to be choosing something like the South, you can see, for instance, I chose the second day air because I know it's going to be a little bit further from the warehouse in New York. So this is why, for instance, I would still go with the condition set over something like the fastest possible delivery time. And then the last one here is I want Amazon choose the shipping method based on my preferred ranking set below. This one is exactly as it sounds. You just rank each one of your shipping settings based on what makes sense and based on what will hit your delivery time. Amazon then will choose whichever one makes the most sense. This is a very good option for people who really want to have as little thought process on this as possible. Is second best, I would say, to the condition set. Now, well, we're going to have some errors there, so we'll go with this one right now for preferred ranking. Now, for the actual shipping services for premium shipping, this is important. Now, if we are going to have premium shipping, you have to choose some form of method for it. Let's say that we're going to have our premium shipping be, 2 days. So we'll just always do UPS second day air for the premium side of things. Now, region 100% covers the continental US. We're going to confirm, and it's going to take us to our overall shipping settings here, or shipping template. Once we're in our shipping template, there's two different ways that we can go about the rate model. Per item / weight based, again, very similar to the condition set that we were putting up earlier, and that condition set was based on the actual item weight and the region that it was going to. And then price banded. Shipping rates are determined by the total amount of the order. Again, I'm not a big fan of doing things based off the price of products. You can if it makes sense for your products. If you, let's say, know that you have margins of 150%, and nothing is going to matter if somebody says, oh, I am buying $250, right? So I'm always really going to be by a per item / weight based person mostly, unless you are selling very high end items, in which case price banded may make sense. Now, they also have this, which is shipping setting automation. This is where essentially it will auto choose what makes the most sense for you across the board for your actual shipping settings. And then finally, we come on down to our domestic shipping and the different options we have. You can see we have a free economy, and this is for essentially all states, street addresses, everything. It is a requirement. So free shipping on Amazon is a requirement. However, we can have a few things on here. Specifically, we can just take this off entirely if we don't want it. You do not have to add it, but it is something that Amazon highly, highly says you should. Again, free economy is not something that is needed, but it does help with conversion. And if you are going to do free economy, you can do something very simple here. Again, you can see things like the transit time, and you can set the actual time frame. I'm always going to set it to 5 to 10 days. And then you can do something as simple as always have that designated towards USPS. For free economy, it's a little bit difficult, right? Because most people don't want to have to offer free shipping if they don't have to. It's going to be difficult, but you can always try and bake that into your pricing, or you just don't have to offer it as a whole. Next, we have our standard shipping. This is the shipping across the board that everyone is going to typically have. You have to have this one. You cannot take it off. But we get a little bit more done with it. So typically speaking, this is going to be the shipping fee. So you can see we can add for per order, or we can add per pound as well. And then on top of that, for our continental, we can add for per order and per pound as well. What I'm going to typically recommend, Amazon has some good metrics here for the $4.99 and the 99 cents. But if you are already charging for your shipping, what I would typically say is you should have a good idea of how much this is going to cost. What I would really do here instead is I would look at essentially editing overall this to take out and be a region specific for how much it's really going to cost you. Again, we have our expedited, and you should have an idea for each one of these. Let's assume our expedited is our USPS air or a second day air. We should have an idea of, let's say our products are £1. It's going to be likely around the ballpark of $8.99 plus 99 cents per pound. It's not actually going to be $9 in most cases for second day air. I would say in most cases it will be closer to $15 for a £1 item, and then 99 cents every single pound after usually will cover most scenarios for second day air. And then again, 2-day delivery, same exact scenario. I would not really recommend doing a 1-day delivery option. This is usually not going to be for most people. The reason for this is that you're usually going to run into some issues when it comes to 1-day delivery again, and we don't want to mess up any of our delivery timeframes overall. So finally, let's say all of this is fine. We're going to save this template, and we now have our US template that we had at the top. So you can see our US template comes in here. We have all of our different shipping options, even our free economy that we don't necessarily have to have, but we do in there. We can even come back. We can always edit this after the fact. So if there is something in here that you did not want for some reason, that's totally fine. You can even add different regions. So for instance, if you wanted to select lower 48 or have for free economy, even allow, let's say, someone in Hawaii to. You always can, and that's not an issue. Same thing with your expedited. If you want to have, let's say, a certain type, you can always do a deselect all and choose specific areas that you want to actually do for those. So the big takeaway here is how you actually set up the initial settings for your shipping. What I'm always going to suggest again is going by an item weight and region specific for your shipping. Again, you can try and do it based on what makes the most sense for your business, but those are going to be usually the easiest ones to control from the aspect of knowing how much you have from your shipping contract. Also, it depends entirely on how you ship your products. If you are shipping primarily from a UPS standpoint, you should know your UPS rates fairly well. It should allow you some decent ideas as to how to charge for expedite and 2-day. Again, if you're going to do second day air, it's usually going to start out at around $15 for £1, depending on the location and region that you're going to, and then it's going to go up from there. So the biggest thing to take note in when you are going through the entire shipping settings and understanding each aspect of it is really what makes sense for you from the actual service that you're using for your logistics. And finally, if you're going to use Amazon's own shipping, as well, I will always say you're usually going to get some decent rates over there. You can always look at using services like Vico as well that have really, really low rates. So absolutely check out Vico, check out Amazon shipping templates. It's going to make your life a lot easier when it comes to actually shipping products across the continental US and outside of it. And overall, happy selling.